So today we're going to be talking about the great Yao Ming. Today we're going to be focusing on basketball globally, and we're going to talk about one of the greatest international players of all time. So I'm going to welcome you to Dreamers Pro, the channel. Let's go. So for those of you who don't know, Yao Ming was actually drafted in 2002 as the first overall pick by the Houston Rockets. And I remember when he was first drafted because by that time I was actually a Houston Rockets fan, believe it or not. And my favorite basketball player in the world was Steve Francis, and I really enjoyed the way he played because of his handles and everything like that. So when Yao Ming was drafted by the Houston Rockets, a lot of people were saying that this is going to be the next Kobe and Shaq tandem because Kobe and Shaq were the ultimate 1-2 punch. So with Yao Ming there, and now you have Steve Francis and players like Cuttino Mobley and all these others, they thought that the Houston Rockets were going to be, they were going to really challenge the Lakers in the Western Conference for the title. So what happened was when he first got drafted into the league, there was a lot of hype around him because Yao Ming, if you don't know, was 7'6" Chinese dude out of Shanghai, China. And the NBA hadn't seen a player like him because he could actually shoot, he could run the floor pretty well, and he was this really big player. So his big debut was actually when he played against Shaquille O'Neal, and a lot of people were hyped to see how Shaq and Yao Ming were going to face off against each other. And it was a really amazing game because, Shaq was going to Yao Ming was going to Shaq, he would block him, and then Shaq would try to dunk on Yao, and all of these amazing things. So it brought a lot of entertainment into the league, and Yao Ming really had a really big impact on the NBA because he ended up becoming an 8-time All-Star. He made second teams and third all NBA teams, and he was a really great ambassador for the game in China. And that was, I think, it was at a time when the NBA was stumbling upon something, because what happened was with Yao Ming coming into the NBA, this Chinese basketball player, it brought in a whole new audience of watchers of the NBA. And I remember every All-Star voting year when they had to vote for the All-Stars, this is when the fans had 100% of the vote. Yao Ming would always run away with the vote because people in China, all these Chinese people were voting for, one of their own people, one of their own players, and it was a wonderful thing. But I think it really opened up the NBA to the power of what China could have as far as being a new market, a new frontier for the NBA. And Yao Ming was the first person to kick that off. Now, it wasn't that there was just a lot of hype around him. Yao Ming could actually play. He could play out of the post. He had a hook shot. He had a turnaround jumper. He had all of these great post moves. So it wasn't like he was just this big dude lumbering around on the basketball court that couldn't ball. He could actually ball. He was a really great basketball player, and he played in the NBA for over 13 years. So there's no way you can be a scrub and play that long. But Yao Ming he played a really long time in the NBA for the Houston Rockets, and he had a really good career. So he showed a lot of kids outside the US that yes, you can also make it to the NBA. You don't have to be from the United States necessarily to make it into the NBA and have a really big impact. But what also I think it did was, it was the first step for the NBA to really expand abroad. Now they started doing things like basketball without borders, in Africa and China, and you started seeing a lot of sports companies, for instance, like Nike, really starting to make a concerted effort to really start to take their athletes and try to promote them and advertise them in China. And it turned out that actually Kobe ended up being the most popular athlete outside of China, basketball player in China. And because of how popular, for example, Yao Ming was, his teammates became popular. Steve Francis became popular in China because they looked at it like, we support Yao Ming, so we support his teammates as well. And, it really started to show what the NBA could be like in the future. And if you look at the NBA today, how global of a sport that it is, I think you can't tell that story without mentioning the impact that Yao Ming had to play on the story of the NBA. The NBA now has become a really global sport, and China is beginning to play a big role in it because there are a lot of fans of basketball all around the world, especially in China. And I believe that was the ultimate purpose of Yao Ming, although I don't think it was something that the NBA necessarily engineered. I just think that it's something that materialized organically for people out there. And now if you look at basketball, it's a really global sport, but there's no way you can tell that story without Yao Ming. He's one of the greatest. He actually made it into the Hall of Fame, which is really incredible when you think about it, if you think about his journey. Now, if you watch Yao Ming play, if you watch some of his, of his commentary when he first came into the NBA, he had to go through a culture shock because where he was from, he was used to, if you and I are friends, when we get on the basketball court, we're still friends. Whereas in the United States, you can have two great friends, but when they get on the basketball court, they're willing to cut each other's throat to win. And for him, it was something, it was a cultural shock. He couldn't believe that, 20 minutes before tip-off, I'm here joking with this guy, having fun with him, laughing with him, and then 30 minutes later, he's dunking on me in a game, or he's trying to come on my throat, or just really embarrass me. So for him, that was a cultural shock that he had to sort of go through and adjust with, but over time he sort of made his transition. So there were a lot of it was an experiment that went well for the NBA, and I think now since then we're witnessing a lot more international players. The sport is becoming a very international sport. I mean, for goodness sake, Team USA actually lost in the 2004 Olympics. I believe it was to Argentina or Spain, or one of these teams. So it goes to show you that basketball is a global sport, and there's no way we're going to be able to tell that story without Yao Ming and the impact that he had on the NBA. So if you're a Yao Ming fan and you really enjoyed his career, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't seen any of his videos, if some of you out there who are basketball fans have never really seen any highlights of Yao Ming, go check him out. He was a really, really unique and special player, and I wanted to highlight him to just bring some diversity to the channel, to show you that we appreciate basketball, and it doesn't matter where it comes from in the world. We're just real basketball sports fans, and I just wanted to highlight a really great basketball player and a great person in Yao Ming. So I want to thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you thought about it in the comment section below. This is Charles here, wishing you guys a great day. Peace.